Here's what motorcycle dealers will never tell you when you're browsing their showroom floor. What if I told you that 26% of Harley-Davidson owners experience major mechanical failures within 4 years of ownership? That's not bad luck. 26% suffer because they bought bikes with fundamental design flaws that manufacturers refuse to acknowledge. Picture yourself signing the paperwork on your dream bike only to discover it's actually a financial nightmare disguised as freedom. In this video, I'm exposing the 23 worst motorcycles ever built that have destroyed more riding dreams than any others. And trust me, number 1 will shock you. It's from a brand that built its entire reputation on reliability, but delivered bikes that literally shook themselves apart. Stay until the end, because this isn't just entertainment, it's your shield against the devastating mistake that turns motorcycle ownership into a regret-filled money pit. Number 23, Honda CM400A Honda Matic. Starting our countdown at number 23, we have Honda's attempt to reinvent the motorcycle transmission. The CM400A Honda Matic tried to bridge the gap between motorcycles and scooters with its semi-automatic transmission. The result was a machine that satisfied nobody. This bike was underpowered, weighed down by a heavy torque converter, and delivered gear changes so slow that riding it felt like punishment. One owner perfectly summed up the experience. It was sluggish and felt like a scooter. Honda built this thinking riders wanted simplicity, but what they delivered was a bike that couldn't decide what it wanted to be. The Honda Matic system robbed the already modest engine of power, making acceleration feel like watching paint dry. For riders who wanted performance, it was a joke. For those seeking convenience, it was too heavy and awkward. Honda quietly discontinued it after 3 years, pretending it never happened. Number 22. Morbidelli V8. At number 22, we encounter one of the most expensive failures in motorcycle history. The Morbidelli V8 carried a price tag that would make your mortgage broker weep, costing between $150,000 and $200,000 in today's money. For that astronomical sum, buyers received a bike that experts called a costly failure. Only a handful were ever built, which tells you everything about how well it was received. The V8 promised exotic performance, but delivered uncomfortable riding, poor stability, and handling that made experienced riders question their sanity. The few brave souls who bought one discovered that throwing money at a problem doesn't always solve it. This wasn't just expensive, it was prohibitively expensive for what amounted to a rolling disappointment. The rarity of the V8 means finding parts or qualified mechanics is nearly impossible, turning ownership into a nightmare of logistics and costs. Number 21. Harley-Davidson Street Glide. The 2017 Harley-Davidson Street Glide earned its place at number 21 through a combination of overheating issues and oil leaks that turned dream rides into maintenance nightmares. Despite initially receiving positive reviews, real-world ownership revealed serious cooling system problems. Riders reported leg-scalding temperatures that made long rides unbearable. The bike would literally cook its occupants, creating heat levels that bordered on dangerous. Oil leaks became so common that owners joked about carrying extra oil as standard equipment. "Oil leaks ruined my rides," one frustrated owner reported. Imagine preparing for a weekend touring adventure only to discover your bike has marked its territory all over your garage floor. The 2017 Street Glide proved that even established touring bikes can fail spectacularly when basic engineering goes wrong. Number 20. Harley-Davidson Road Glide. The Road Glide from 2009 to 2013 takes number 20 for brake system failures that put riders in genuine danger. Multiple recalls were issued for brake fluid failures, but the damage to the bike's reputation was already done. Braking systems are not optional equipment on motorcycles. When they fail, the consequences range from embarrassing to fatal. Road Glide owners discovered this harsh reality when their brakes decided to take unscheduled breaks. Brakes failed at the worst times, one rider reported, highlighting the terrifying unpredictability of the system. Stability issues compounded the brake problems, creating a perfect storm of safety concerns. Riders found themselves aboard a heavy touring bike that couldn't stop reliably and didn't handle predictably. The recalls addressed some issues, but trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. Number 19. Harley-Davidson Electra Glide Ultra Classic. Number 19 goes to the 2015 Electra Glide Ultra Classic, a bike that should have been Harley's flagship, but instead became a cautionary tale about quality control. The poorly designed water pump, off-balance tires, and most critically, a clutch system that prompted recalls after 27 accidents, turned this supposed premium tourer into a liability. 27 accidents traced to clutch system failures. Let that sink in. This wasn't a minor inconvenience or a cosmetic flaw. This was a fundamental system failure that put riders in hospitals. The clutch recall was a nightmare to deal with, one owner noted, describing the frustration of owning a bike that couldn't be trusted. The water pump design flaws meant cooling system problems, while the tire balancing issues created handling problems that made the bike feel unstable at highway speeds. For a bike marketed as the ultimate touring machine, these failures were unforgivable. If you're enjoying this countdown of motorcycle disasters, make sure you subscribe because we're just getting started. The bikes coming up make these look like minor inconveniences. Number 18, Kawasaki H1500. The Kawasaki H1500 claims number 18 for being genuinely dangerous in the hands of anyone not expecting its violent personality. This bike earned the nickname Death Trap in Corners from riders who experienced its unpredictable power delivery and woefully inadequate brakes. Above 4,500 RPM, the H1 transformed from a manageable motorcycle into a bucking bronco with a death wish. The two-stroke engine would suddenly come alive, delivering power in a way that could throw inexperienced riders off the bike. Combined with poor handling and brakes that seemed designed for a much smaller machine, the H1 was a recipe for disaster. The chassis couldn't handle the engine's power, creating a fundamental mismatch that compromised safety. Riders had to choose between using the bike's performance and staying alive. Many chose poorly, earning the H1 its fearsome reputation. Number 17, Harley-Davidson XLS1000 Roadster. At number 17, we encounter another product of Harley's troubled AMF era. The XLS1000 Roadster from 1980 suffered from the poor build quality that characterized this dark period in Harley's history. Excessive vibration, reliability issues, and shoddy construction made ownership a constant battle. It broke down more than it ran, one owner recalled, capturing the frustration of owning a bike that spent more time in the shop than on the road. The AMF era represents a time when Harley nearly destroyed its own reputation through cost-cutting and poor quality control. The XLS1000 vibrated so violently that bolts would work loose, creating a maintenance nightmare where riders had to constantly check and retighten everything. This wasn't character. This was poor engineering masked as tradition. Number 16, Honda CB500T. The Honda CB500T takes number 16 for being thoroughly mediocre in every measurable way. Underpowered, heavy, and completely outclassed by its competition, this bike represented Honda at its most uninspired. It felt like a downgrade from my old 350, one rider complained, highlighting how the CB500T managed to feel slower despite having a larger engine. In the competitive 500cc market of the 1970s, being mediocre was fatal. Riders had better options from every manufacturer, making the CB500T irrelevant from day one. Honda built this bike without passion or purpose, and it showed. The CB500T was the automotive equivalent of beige wallpaper, technically functional but completely forgettable. Number 15, Ducati Paso 750. Number 15 belongs to the Ducati Paso 750, a bike that disappointed Ducati fans who expected the brand's typical excellence. Electrical problems plagued the Paso, creating reliability issues that overshadowed any performance merits. The electrics failed me more than the engine, one owner noted, describing the frustration of owning a Ducati that couldn't maintain electrical reliability. For a brand built on racing heritage and mechanical precision, electrical failures were particularly damaging. The Paso failed to meet Ducati's performance standards, while also failing to provide the reliability that makes daily riding possible. It represented a rare misstep from a manufacturer known for passionate engineering. Number 14, Suzuki RE5. The Suzuki RE5 earns number 14 for being an expensive experiment that nearly bankrupted Suzuki. The complex Wankel rotary engine was heavy, underpowered, and required constant maintenance that made ownership a financial nightmare. It drank fuel and needed constant repairs, riders reported, describing a bike that consumed resources without providing adequate performance. The rotary engine was fascinating in theory, but proved impractical in real-world use. Suzuki invested heavily in rotary technology, believing it represented the future of motorcycles. The RE5's failure taught them that innovation without practicality is just expensive disappointment. Number 13, Kawasaki H2 MachV. At number 13, we have the Kawasaki H2 MachV, nicknamed the Widowmaker for reasons that become obvious when you consider its combination of massive power and inadequate brakes. This bike earned the reputation of being a beast that bites. The H2 produced incredible power for its era, but the chassis and braking system belonged on a much smaller machine. The result was a bike that could accelerate like a rocket, but couldn't stop or turn safely. Riders found themselves aboard a machine that was genuinely dangerous. The nickname Widowmaker wasn't marketing hyperbole, it was a warning. The H2 demanded respect and skill that many riders didn't possess, leading to accidents that gave the entire motorcycle industry a black eye. Number 12, BMW F650 Fonduro. The BMW F650 Fonduro takes number 12 for being underpowered and heavy in a segment that demanded the opposite. Adventure bikes need to be capable and engaging, but the Fonduro felt sluggish and outdated from day one. BMW built this bike without understanding what adventure riders actually wanted. The result was a machine that was too heavy for off-road use and too slow for highway riding. It occupied an uncomfortable middle ground that satisfied nobody. The Fonduro was quickly overshadowed by better options from other manufacturers, proving that the BMW badge couldn't overcome fundamental design flaws. Number 11, Suzuki TL1000S. Number 11 goes to the Suzuki TL1000S, notorious for tank slapper, handling issues that made high-speed riding terrifying. The bike's aggressive power delivery combined with poor stability created a machine that actively tried to throw riders off. It's thrilling until it tries to throw you off, one owner described, capturing the Jekyll and Hyde personality of the TL1000S. The bike required a steering damper recall to address stability issues, but the damage to its reputation was permanent. The TL1000S had incredible performance potential, but the unstable handling made accessing that performance dangerous. Riders had to choose between using the bike's capabilities and staying alive. Number 10, Harley-Davidson Street Rod. The Street Rod claims number 10 for being a poorly executed attempt to attract younger riders to the Harley brand. Poor ergonomics and an uncomfortable riding position made this bike a torture device disguised as transportation. It's just a dressed-up street 750 with no real improvements, riders complained, recognizing that Harley had simply repackaged an existing problematic bike. The Street Rod shared the Street 750's underpowered engine while adding ergonomic problems that made riding uncomfortable. Harley aimed this bike at younger riders but delivered a machine that would put anyone off riding permanently. The Street Rod's quick discontinuation proved that even loyal Harley fans have limits. Number 9, Yamaha YZFR1. At number 9, we have the modern Yamaha YZFR1, a bike that's great for racing, terrible for daily riding. The R1's track-focused ergonomics create a torture chamber for anyone attempting street riding. High foot pegs, an uncomfortable seat, and a long reach to the handlebars make the R1 feel like a medieval torture device. The bike's incredible engine performance can't overcome the physical punishment it inflicts on riders. Great for racing, terrible for daily riding, owners noted, highlighting the fundamental disconnect between the bike's capabilities and real-world usability. The R1 represents engineering excellence applied in a way that makes everyday riding miserable. Number 8, Honda CTX 1300. The Honda CTX 1300 takes number 8 for being a touring bike that forgot what touring riders actually need. Weighing 732 pounds and costing up to $17,500. This bike lacked essential features like cruise control, while delivering comfort levels that one rider compared to sitting on a toaster oven. For a bike marketed as a touring machine, the CTX 1300's ergonomic failures were unforgivable. The low 7,000 RPM redline meant the engine felt strangled, while the excessive weight made maneuvering difficult. Honda built this bike without understanding what made touring bikes successful, creating a machine that was expensive, heavy, and uncomfortable. Number 7. Honda DN01. Number 7 belongs to the Honda DN01, a bike that suffered from a complete identity crisis. Trying to be a scooter, cruiser, and sport bike simultaneously, the DN01 succeeded at being none of them. It's too heavy for city riding and too weird for touring. Owners complained about this $14,599 experiment. The human-friendly transmission was neither human nor friendly, creating a riding experience that satisfied nobody. The DN01 represented Honda's attempt to reinvent the motorcycle, but innovation without purpose creates confusion, not revolution. The bike's weird styling and impractical design made it unsuitable for any riding style. Number 6. Suzuki B King. The Suzuki B King claims number 6 for being a massive disappointment that handles like a barge. Hyped as a supercharged powerhouse that would deliver 240 horsepower, the production model was overweight, underpowered, and clunky. The concept bike generated enormous excitement, but the production reality was a bike that looked aggressive but performed poorly. The cartoonish exhaust design and poor handling made the B King feel like a parody of a performance motorcycle. It looks cool but handles like a barge, riders noted, capturing the fundamental disconnect between the B King's appearance and its actual capabilities. Number 5. Huong GT 650R. At number 5, we have the Huong GT 650R, a budget sport bike that proved you get what you pay for. Vague transmission, subpar brakes, and poor fit and finish made this bike a false economy. The brakes felt like they barely worked, owners reported, describing a fundamental safety issue that made the bike dangerous. The GT 650R was marketed as a budget alternative to bikes like the Suzuki SV650, but it offered little value despite its lower price. Poor quality control and frequent breakdowns made the GT 650R more expensive to own than higher quality alternatives. The false economy of buying cheap became obvious when repair bills started arriving. Number 4. Kawasaki Vulcan 2000. The Kawasaki Vulcan 2000 takes number 4 for being unwieldy to the point of being dangerous. Weighing 820 pounds with wide handlebars and uncomfortable ergonomics, this bike was like wrestling a tank. The massive engine displacement suggested performance, but the excessive weight made the Vulcan 2000 cumbersome and difficult to control. The heavy clutch added to the physical demands of riding, making every trip an endurance test. It's like wrestling a tank, one rider described, capturing the physical challenge of controlling this massive machine. The Vulcan 2000 represented excess without purpose, creating a bike that was impressive on paper but miserable in reality. Number 3. Victory V92C. Number 3 goes to the Victory V92C, Victory's first attempt to compete with Harley-Davidson that resulted in a bike that felt unrefined and unreliable. Problematic clutch and transmission systems created a bike that couldn't deliver the reliability cruiser riders demanded. The clutch failed within months, owners reported, describing fundamental reliability issues that made the V92C unsuitable for serious riding. Victory's inexperience showed in every aspect of the bike's design and execution. The V92C was supposed to establish Victory as a serious competitor to Harley-Davidson, but instead it demonstrated that good intentions don't guarantee good motorcycles. The bike's rough gear changes and uncomfortable ergonomics made riding an unpleasant experience. Number 2. Bimota V8. At number 2, we have the Bimota V8, a $34,500 disaster that bankrupted its manufacturer. The faulty direct fuel injection system caused random power delivery, stalling, and performance so poor that the bike was literally unrideable. A nightmare to repair, mechanics reported, describing a bike with broken internal components and unavailable parts. The V8's innovative two-stroke engine failed so spectacularly that Bimota had to buy back bikes from disappointed customers. The V8 represented cutting-edge technology that wasn't ready for production. Bimota's bankruptcy following this bike's failure proved that innovation without reliability is just expensive experimentation at the customer's expense. Number 1. Harley-Davidson 883 Sportster. Taking the number 1 spot as the worst motorcycle purchase decision, we have the pre-1991 Harley-Davidson 883 Sportster, particularly those from the AMF era. These bikes combined excessive vibration, a tiny 2.1-gallon gas tank, and a top speed of just 80 miles per hour with an outdated 4-speed transmission. My '89 Sportster shook so bad it loosened bolts constantly, one owner reported, describing a bike that was literally shaking itself apart. The small gas tank limited range to about 80 miles, making longer rides impossible without frequent stops. These early Sportsters, especially from 1969 to 1981, suffered from poor build quality that made ownership a constant battle against mechanical failure. Riders reported frequent breakdowns and uncomfortable rides that turned the dream of Harley ownership into a nightmare. The AMF era nearly destroyed Harley-Davidson's reputation, and the pre-1991 Sportster represents everything wrong with that period. Poor engineering, cost-cutting, and quality control failures created bikes that were more headache than happiness. What made these bikes particularly disappointing was the gap between expectation and reality. Buyers expected the legendary Harley experience, but received machines that couldn't provide reliable transportation. The excessive vibration wasn't character. It was a design flaw that made long rides unbearable. The 883 Sportster's problems weren't isolated incidents. They were systematic issues that affected entire production runs. Riders who bought these bikes thinking they were getting authentic Harley-Davidson quality instead received poorly built machines that required constant attention and frequent repairs. Speaking of bikes manufacturers want gone, dealerships are desperately dumping 17 specific models before 2025 ends. I reveal exactly which ones and why, and motorcycle dealerships are trying to dump these 17 models ASAP. Some might actually surprise you.